already entered. The crane just passed me going in. Now I just need to get away from the ditch on the right, because I parked out of the way for people to enter, like all these big dump trucks. And then the guy came out in a pickup truck. He says, okay, go inside, stop at the scale house, sign in, and he says you will see us on the left somewhere there. So loading up a structure of a big Hitachi excavator. So yeah, it turns out even if I was not late yesterday, they would never load me, because when I showed up this morning, the only thing that was disconnected from the excavator was that humongous bucket. As you can see, it still has tracks, it still has the boom, right? And the only thing they did in the morning when they let me in was they took off the exhaust pipe. It was sticking out in the back there, and they took off like some railing that was always sticking out. And so I think I'm gonna be here all day, because so now they're taking off the boom, but then they have to take off the tracks, right? So I'm gonna send a message to yeah, sorry, I'm gonna send a message to the broker and tell them that this is the situation, right? Because I think I sent him a message yesterday, because some of these guys are obsessive about receiving updates from drivers, and then they threaten if you don't send them updates by email, or don't call them every morning. They will take off like $100, you know, $50 from your revenue, which is not nice. And so now we see that it's not my fault. I'm not driving now with this excavator strapped to my back, and I'm ready. I took out my 10 by 10 timbers, so that's what this thing is gonna sit on. Like, I thought this was one of those housings I did before, you know, where it has hydraulic legs. And this guy was, no, what legs? No, he says, did you see you know what it is? And basically it's very tall, and the tracks, you know, you rarely see tracks longer than, I don't know, 13 feet on typical excavators. This thing, tracks are 16 feet, and they're like up to my chest, you know, in height, so they're massive. So I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure they will need at least one truck per track. Like, you know, gonna show up. You see, like, this guy has a container where they load all spare parts, and that boom, like, Jesus, look at all that steel, how wide it is, how deep in the middle, and just the bucket, you know, tells you that this is a serious machine. And as always, when crane operators deal with this kind of stuff, you know, sensitive, high value, even though this is a used one, it's not that expensive. I saw the invoice, but I'm just trying to say that usually they're very slow, you know, and sometimes it's so frustrating when you're filming a crane loading and unloading that I have to speed up the video, otherwise people start falling asleep left and right. Well, this one is doing okay. All right, so now we have yeah, you see, that's the cab. So now the cab is the highest point. No, that railing was definitely higher than the cab. I just try, you know, to get them to remove as much as possible from the top, but we'll know how tall it is once it's on the trailer. Well, they say it's 18.3, which somehow, I don't know, I doubt a little bit, but we'll see, because it'll be sitting on blocks, and I'm surrounded by these mountains of material. I think it's all limestone. These guys have a crusher somewhere here. They have a crusher. I talked yesterday to the guy who was at the gate. I said, what time do you guys show up, you know? I saw some guy going through the gate, and he says, oh, I operate the crusher. He says, everyone is different. Like, he says, my shift starts at 5. And I was watching a movie until like 12 o'clock. Stupid. And then, of course, at 5 o'clock, the traffic started, you know? So I couldn't sleep, even though I set up my alarm. I talked to this guy. I said, what time are we starting? He says 6:30. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna set my alarm for 6. And then, of course, at 5 o'clock, all these dump trucks started rolling in, brr, 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 you know. And my windows were open, so you cannot sleep, you know. But this is northern Ontario, right? I'm just east of, probably half an hour east of Aurelia, Ontario, which is about 2 hours north of Toronto, Canada. So I think I can see a North Pole from here, but I'm not 100% sure. So that's what's happening, boys and girls. And of course the trick is to keep my weight down so I can be granted a permit in Ohio. I cannot be too heavy. So the axle is flipped, the blocks are set on the side. I hide away my straps that were holding those long outrigger boards. Actually, I like this. Like, for me as a trucker, it's always easier when there's a crane, because a crane allows much higher precision, like where to put it. Oh, and the best part is that scale house, right? I asked him, I said, can I scale when I'm loaded? And the lady looks at me, and I thought she would say, are you nuts with so much weight? She says, no, of course not. And she's wearing shorts. You don't want to wear shorts in this kind of like region, because there's a lot of mosquitoes like this size, But for some reason, so I was afraid to open windows. I just opened my rear windows where I have the mesh, mosquito thing. But here I have nothing, right? So I was afraid, but it was not like, at least the temperature is very nice. It was like cool, very nice, easy to sleep. You don't have to idle. You don't need any those 3-letter abbreviation horror machines, APUs. Hate those. So all right, so let's pause the video until well, we'll show what else I can show you guys. I can show you how they remove the tracks, right? I wonder how they're gonna do that, because this machine sits on tracks, right? So they cannot just take the track off, because then the machine will just fall down. Those big ones that I'm talking about, right, with the hydraulic legs, that's how they did it. Like they dropped those hydraulic legs, and then the tracks were in the air, right? And then they just take off all the bolts and hook up the crane and take the track off, because the actual housing already sits on the ground. So I think here, what I'm guessing, they will have to lift the entire thing. And that crane doesn't look that big. So they're gonna lift the entire thing, and then when the tracks are a couple of inches off the ground, they're gonna take them off. Kind of like what you do with tires on a car, when you have to jack it up. Well, a step deck guy showed up, surprisingly from Alberta. That was a lone deadhead. So I'm east of Aurelia, Ontario. No, this guy probably had had a load. But by the way, one more time, I just wanted to explain something. You see this headache rag behind the cab of this rundown Volvo? Looks good, don't it? As they say in Nebraska, doesn't it? But, and I get asked this question lots of times, why I don't have a headache rack? Well, the difference is that this guy is a step deck, so he has probably 5/16 chains or maybe 3/8, and the regular binders, and they look like, I don't know, like regular 5/16 binders, they're very light, and he has to climb in there each time with a chain and put it on the top, right? Like, you guys would think that that's not exactly easy, right? Oh, the bucket is in the air. And so for me, my chains are much heavier. My chains are 1/2 inch, and my binders are much heavier, especially these new ones. So it's just not practical. It's too heavy, Plus, I don't have a step on the side of my truck. Like, even if I was crazy enough to lift 30-40 pound chains and binders up there, well, I don't even think that thing would hold it, So basically my stuff is much heavier. Oh, what's going on? this guy is gonna back under it. That's what I'm thinking. And this is a Transcraft DTL 3000. Yeah, Alberta. So it's a steel trailer. That's pretty much the worst trailer you can buy, but it's the cheapest one. I had this one, but except I had a aluminum floor. This guy has a wood floor. And after using my, these low boys I'm using, I'm so used to wood floors, is that, in my opinion, that's the only way to go when you deal with machinery, Like aluminum it's too easy to damage. And I remember on this trailer, the rub rail was steel and it was very, very weak. And you can tell that this guy is from Alberta because he has a triaxle trailer. Normally feels American, and look at the spacing. That's 60 inch. That's a typical Western Canada spread. And it's pretty popular everywhere in Canada. Even though here in Ontario, we get maximum weight. If you just stay inside Ontario, you get maximum weight per axle if your spacing is 72 inches. Okay? But I tried that one. Actually, that's what my Transcraft had. And it doesn't give you any advantage when you're traveling, let's say between US and Canada, right? Because you're gonna go to other jurisdictions that don't recognize that 72-inch spread. And some states, I think Georgia, will even give you a ticket because they consider that illegal. One guy told me that. It's just a hearsay, so that's all I know. And in the background you see a huge wheel loader. I think it's 980 moving some material. This is primetime TV, Okay, this guy is from Nisku, Alberta. The company is called KENWORTH Heavy Haul Ltd. KENWORTH. Well, we should put the word semi in front of heavy. KENWORTH semi-heavy haul, because the guy has a 3-axle truck and it's a Volvo. It's not a Kenworth, so it's not a really heavy haul, Or it's not a Peterbilt, right? I think there's only, like everybody says, there's only two truck brands Whoa! Two truck brands that are designed for heavy stuff, but as you saw, I did okay with the Mac, and that engine was not too bad. What was lacking was a longer wheelbase and a stronger front axle. Oh wow, that bucket is pretty big. This is a very interesting load. So anyway, they're gonna load this thing. And I guess he's taking the booms as well. Maybe they'll throw the tracks on him too. I asked him how heavy the tracks are. They said they're about 30,000 pounds. Wait, which way is closer? That's closer. Yeah, my phone. I like this phone because it has two cameras. There's one on top and one below. That's where I'm looking now, right? Because my center is here, but I have to look at the camera. And so I like this G6 and G5. Yeah, I think G5 had only one camera. So I can click the little icon on the screen and I can kind of like zoom in, which is and it's seamless, and I can switch to the other camera, you know. So when I'm filming myself, that's what before I used to forget to switch back to a wide view, and you guys were complaining about seeing too much of my nose or ear in the frame. I don't know what's wrong with that, but some people were complaining. So now before I turn the camera, I make sure that I switched the angle. All right, we have some kind of a conference over there. You know, like when there's a construction, right, there's always like 5 supervisors and there's a crane. When there's a crane and some big load like this, there's always a lot of supervisors. And surprisingly, internet works over here, you know, like off and on. But I was able to do research on my route while all this was happening. I started on my permit request, like a special form I have to fill out with the routing and dimensions and weight. But so if I don't know my weight, I don't know dimensions, but I know approximate routing, right? So I started on that. So I don't know, it's gonna take a long time, but I emailed the guy and he says, okay, let the customer know they're gonna be detention. And asking about money, I said, can you pay, you know, if I'm sitting here too long? And that's his answer. I let the customer know that there will be detention, and I'm not sure what he meant. Is it okay to ask for a bit more money, or is he just talking about waiting time? But realistically, this is the situation, right? This is Friday. And by the way, which reminds me that oversized loads in Ontario, I think there's a curfew. I'm gonna double check on that, but I think there's a curfew after 3, if I'm not mistaken. You know, because it's summer. So in the summer, no oversized loads, I think over 10 feet wide, are allowed to travel in Ontario between Friday after 3, and then Saturday I think you can travel until noon, and then I think Sunday, like basically it's in my annual permit. I gotta check that. So if I cannot get out of here before 3, that's it. I don't know. I'll just have to wait till Saturday, and Saturday I can drive home to Cambridge, because of course there's not gonna be they're not gonna give me the permits, and plus Michigan does not allow travel on weekends anyway. So probably I'll deliver Tuesday, I'm thinking, because from here it's 400 kilometers to the border in Port Huron. So that would take me like 5 hours, because I have to go on some roads, you know. And so yeah, but the total distance is actually 530 miles from here to the consignee in Canton, Ohio. So there's no reason to rush. The money is good. The weather's good. I love this. You know, it's not too hot. Because if this was Florida or Texas, you know, people would be dying here. But this is beautiful. You know, you look at all these puddles, you know, and this beautiful landscape of man-made material mountains. Love it. Maybe I should just grab a camera and go shoot some landscape shots over here. Yeah, I tried yesterday when I came here. I went for a walk. I went to the end of the road over there, and there's another quarry, and it's the sign, and there's that yellow sign, you know, and I thought maybe it's like a turn. No, it's the end of the road, and the signs on both sides say private property, no trespassing, video surveillance. Oh shoot. So I turned around, walked back to my truck. So it was probably like almost a kilometer, like half a mile, you know, going that way. And so I didn't do any photography yesterday. So maybe that's my plan for the weekend. Oh, and I'm working on the insurance, because that's the big thing. They sent me a bunch of, well, not a bunch, just a couple of forms I have to fill out, because my insurance expires in September. and they want the new application like renewal like at least 1 month in advance, you know, and they're asking me for my CVR and driver abstracts, you know, and I got those yesterday, and now I'm waiting for my actually carrier CVR abstract, which is coming in the mail. I paid like $5 online, so it'll probably be here Monday. But this is cool. Love it. No boss. Captain Sergei is the boss. The only way to go. Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys something cool. I showed this before, but this little calculation can be helpful in a situation like this, because once they load it, right, and then I go to a scale, if I discover that it's not loaded in the proper position, it's a big hassle. I have to come back to the crane, they have to take all the chains off. I mean, I have to take the chains off, and then they have to move it. Nobody wants to do that. So here's my empty ticket, right? So I got 15 on the steers, 20,000 on the drives and the pusher, and 17.5 on the trailer. So that's my empty weight. I think this was with full tanks. I'm a bit lighter now. Now, knowing what you need to know is this is the kingpin, right? And this is the center between my quad. So this is the middle. So that's my wheelbase right now, 46 feet. Okay, and you see I put down here, that's my empty weight, and the load they say is 80. Well, okay, I use the calculation with 82, but if you put the center of this machine, provided I can find out where the center of gravity is, because it can be a bit tricky since the counterweights are removed, the boom is removed, but I'll see how when the guy hooks up, the crane hooks up to this, right? I will know where the center of gravity is to see which way it's tilting. But let's say the center of gravity is right in the middle, under that big circle under the house where the machine turns, right? So if I load like this, okay, and then you measure this distance. So if this is 23 feet, then what you do, you take the weight, divide by 46 your overall wheelbase from kingpin to middle of the trailer group, and then you multiply by the feet from the kingpin to the center of gravity of the load, right? And of course it's half, right? 23 is half of 46. So this will give you 40,000 here and 40,000 here. Well, like approximately, because we don't take into account the pusher, which will take a lot of weight off the drives. But it's just a cool formula. So for example, I was playing with this, and I find that, so if I do like that, equal, right, 40-40, then because my empty weight over here is 17, so I'll be 57.5, but over here I'll be 60.2, which is not good. But actually, yeah, this one will take it, will take a lot of weight, because now my kingpin is actually like 8 inches forward of my center of the drive axle 1. But and when you do this calculation, it shows you actually how much will be here on the trailer. Okay, you measure this, but because of all these leverage laws, you estimate your load weight here, and then you add the empty weight, and then you deduct from this, and that will go in here, right? And this way you can play, and then you can measure again the kingpin, and then tell them, hey guys, I want the center to be here, like you want a center to be, let's say, if I want to put more weight in here, of course I want the center of gravity of the load to be somewhere here, further than 23 feet, and that's where this basic math can come in handy sometimes. All right, truck 1 is done, but now actually they need another truck, right? Because he didn't take the bucket. That's why he's so slow. He didn't tie him down. Yeah, that's what you get with a step deck. You have a bunch of loads, you have to save time down, you know. What I like about heavy haul is that I got one piece, right? And this is it. Okay, so we're gonna learn two new terms today. Hold on, let me put my, see, this is what I'm using. This one is here. Very handy. So two new terms. Term one, coined by yours truly, HSD. So it's a type of a load which makes the trucker smile and laugh on the way to the bank. HSD. Heavy haul SERGEI DRATCHEV. No, I'm kidding. It's heavy short distance. Heavy short distance. That's a term I came up with after I was listening to an audiobook where this guy was crazy about running, and they used the term SLD, slow long distance, like it was running, SLD, and that gave me an idea. Wait a second, I can use this in trucking, you know. So just steal the idea. So now it became HSD. No, wait a second. Yeah, his was slow long distance, mine is heavy short distance, HSD. And the other term, so that's my favorite load, type of a load, because that's you don't burn a lot of fuel and you make a lot of money per mile. And the second term is dry camp. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but up north, when all these crazy people go to make money, and they spend you know, like 2 months at a time, I think, or whatever, or 14 days on, 14 days off in these camps, right, up north, you know, like oil workers, oil fields. And some of them have liquor stores, but others don't. And it's like a rule that you cannot drink on site, like period, no matter when you're off or on duty. And so these guys call it dry camp. And so a minor announcement is that starting July 13th, Heavy Haul TV territory is officially dry camp. This is it. I had some minor health scare in Louisiana, so that's it. Dry camp forever. Yeah, it's definitely not happening today. Time now is, check this out, 11:13. And look at my fuel economy, 231 liters per 100 kilometers. That's nice. No, it's always like that when you idling, you know, because you're not moving and you're spending, let's say, I don't know, 5 liters or 1.5 gallons and you 0 miles, and the computer is like panicking. What's happening? Where's the miles? Why is not moving? So anyway, now finally they're gonna attach the cables to the top. And another weird thing I just discovered, I talked to the crane guy, very nice guy. The center of gravity is not where that ring is, you know. He showed me where it is. It's actually where those, what do you call them? Жалюзи in Russian, I don't know, like the English word escapes me. Blinds, where those blinds are. So basically where the word super is, EX12100, and there's underneath there's the word super, and there's these blinds. And basically, yeah, actually right where his hook is right now. That's the center of gravity, you know, and it's off. So there's going to be a lot of weight on this side, and so I'll have to use some extra blocking, not just 4 blocks, but I'll have to block the tail, block up the tail, otherwise it'll just tilt over, you know. It's like, and basically, yeah, what they're doing is they turned the house, otherwise it will be 14 feet wide, and this way it's only 11.6 wide, you know. And they're gonna load it so like this, like turned, exactly like they did with the Manitowoc crane. But one cool thing I wanted to mention, I just talked to the crane guy, and we talked about trucking. You know, he's asking me how this works. Are you by yourself? Are you work for yourself? I said, yeah. I said, is this your crane or you work for somebody? He says, mine. Now I own a truck, right, and a trailer and the flip axle, but that's nothing compared to this guy, you know. Like, and he's I think he's younger than me, you know, and he owns this crane. It's what is this? Grove 990E. I asked him about the capacity. He says if he uses all his counterweights, like maximum, and he can just lift and swing like nearby, he can do 110,000 pounds. You know, and because it's a smaller crane, he can carry all his counterweights with him. He doesn't need to put them on a second truck like those big crane guys have to do. So he just brought, he says he brought only enough counterweights to lift like, you know, 85,000 pounds. And he says the other thing he needs to know is how far he is away from the load, and then he has a book with charts and they tell him how much counterweights he needs. But that crane, brand new, is $1.2 million Canadian, so probably around 900,000 US. Anyway, so now they're gonna lift one side and they're gonna drag the track out, and I don't know, they're gonna set it down. Not sure how that's gonna work, but yeah, I'm not gonna get out of here before 3. So, but there's a bunch of stores. I'll just drop the trailer and drive over there, grab some food, you know, and come back. But looks like I'll have to spend the night here. Quick correction. Remember what I said before? I said here's a guy with a container on a double drop trailer, probably picking up pieces. No, I noticed that the container has the same logo as these pickup trucks, and so it's the same companies, these riggers. So I guess that's who hired my broker. So my broker got this load from the rigging company that was hired by the buyer probably. And so, you know how a mechanic has a toolbox, right? So that's their toolbox. So it sits on a dedicated double drop trailer, permanently mounted probably, and I see humongous wrenches in there. And why a double drop? Because it's much easier to climb on than a step deck or flatbed, right? It's a 20-foot sea container, so they have all the tools there they need to dismantle stuff like this in the field. And then I think in the front I see some kind of a gadget there, like with a little Honda and a pneumatic air, probably creates high pressure air for something. So interesting setup. I never saw people use containers like this, you know, as a mobile toolbox. shut down in Aurelia, and the guy agreed to give me extra 400 bucks. I can just check my chains, and then I gotta order permits. Okay, in the back, you see, this is the first time I use these. And actually, they came in pretty handy, because the chains were too short. See, this way I can hook it up directly. Very nice. And there's no ice anywhere. You know, you have to. Even here, because of this, I cannot use these. Very stupid. Alright, so this is it. See, I'm all dirty. Hungry, didn't eat anything whole day. Just drank water. So now I'm gonna order the permits, shut down till tomorrow, because there's no curfew on Saturday. And Saturday I'll drive to Cambridge, shut down there till Monday, because I don't have a permit for Michigan. Probably deliver Tuesday, and I already booked another load for Wednesday morning, loading some kind of a machine in Baltimore, Maryland. So busy. Thanks for watching.